when Tiger was running hot under the collar, like caddies tend to step in and kind of know how to handle their guy. What was the way you handled Tiger when he was running a little warm?
Well, the one thing I always noticed with Tiger when he was running a little warm is the adrenaline that he would get going. And I could tell by when the adrenaline was going, he would walk quicker, he would talk quicker. Everything became a little bit quicker. The biggest thing I did was adjust the yardages all the time. I mean, I was constantly doing that. If it was 160 and it's a 9-iron, I'd be telling him, it's 170 or something. I'd be adjusting the yardage so often because he just got the adrenaline going and the ball started going further and further. So I had to be extremely aware of that. And I got a very good handle on that, to the point where I can recall one round at Bay Hill, in the final round of one of his victories there. I didn't give him the right yardage, the correct yardage on any shot for the entire round. Now, you've got to be careful when you're on a par three and, one guy's saying it's, 195, which I know would be, say, a 6-iron, and I'm telling Tiger, it's only 183. So he hits the 7-iron, but doesn't hit it as hard as he should be hitting it. I did that so often when he got running hot and he got the adrenaline going.
That takes some balls.
Yeah. Did he know that? Did he know that you tweak yardages? Or
it took him a little while to do it. The first time I did it, the first big time moment was on the 17th hole of the 2000 PGA Championship when Tiger had that unbelievable battle with Bob May. We got to that 17th hole. The yardage said that it was a 56-degree wedge, and I just knew Tiger could get a 60 there, so I moved the yardage back so that he hit a full 60, and that pin was on the front there, and it barely cleared the bunker, and he makes birdie and goes on to to win it in a playoff. Now, had I been wrong, had that have mucked up and he hit it in the bunker, he wouldn't have known. But that was the first time I did it, and then I can't remember pinpoint exactly when he asked me something about it and whatever, but he said, you just keep doing it, you know what you're doing.
That's awesome.
Stevie, I know you've told this story as you've kind of been making your rounds, but it's so cool just to hear it from you and for our listeners that maybe haven't. But 2000 US Open, golf balls, the story. Can you tell it?
Look, it's a long story, and I've covered it off in the book, but in a nutshell, due to the circumstances of a fog delay on Friday and an early start on Saturday, earlier than what you would normally expect a US Open to be, because back then it wasn't a 7 o'clock Eastern finish. They played earlier, whatever it was. Saturday's restart was a continuation of Friday's round. So when I picked Tiger's clubs up in the morning, because it was a continuation of the second round, I didn't put any balls or gloves or need anything. I just picked the bag up, put it on my shoulder. We didn't go to the putting green because of the early start. Tiger went to the driving range, got in the courtesy car to go out to the in the van to go out to hit our allotted starting time hole and whatever. Got onto the tee there, put my hand in the bag to get a ball out for the first hole, and there's only 3 balls there. I thought, well, that's a bit strange. There should have been more than that. I mean, we always start with 9, and we only used 3 yesterday, so we're 3 short. I didn't give it much thought. First hole up the hill there on the 13th hole there. Hits it in the left rough there, hits it onto the green with a wedge. It was wet, the grass was wet, put a big scuff on the ball and made birdie, and then walked off the green and threw the ball to a very young man, a young adult, a junior walking with his dad, and he was so excited. I'm watching him, he's showing Dad, hey, got this Tiger ball. Look, Dad, it's got his name on it. There wasn't a lot of, people get considering the time in the morning. I almost wanted to go over and grab that ball because I thought, just in case, but, I can't be seen doing that. What's going on here? Anyway, play 14, 15, 16, 17, no problem. Then on 18, obviously, it hits the ball in the water off the tee, and now we're down to 1 ball left. If this one goes in the ocean or possibly goes out of bounds, and the other 2 guys aren't playing, a Nike ball, we're in deep trouble here. So, it's the only time in my entire time of caddying that I was actually nervous. And, you've heard that saying, your ass is puckering. Well, I didn't know what that meant, or pickering, whatever that word they use. Well, I knew what that was right there and then on that 18th tee. I was nervous.
I can't imagine.
The crux of the gist of the story is because we didn't go to the putting green in the morning, there wasn't enough time to do all the usual things. He didn't go to the putting green. He putted on the carpet in his room and left 3 balls sitting on the floor in his room, which I didn't see.
Man, that is wild.
If Tiger had hit, the second, the provisional ball either A, way right out of bounds where you couldn't find it, or B, hit that back there in the ocean, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Did Tiger, when did he find out?
He knew something was up. It was ironic, and this just gives you an insight how different a guy thinks. He knew something was up, and I could sense he knew, but he never said a word. We finished that round on Friday, went back out later the day and played Saturday's round, Sunday's round, won the US Open by 15 shots, an unbelievable treat and an unbelievable feat. Signs a scorecard, and he comes down the stairs, and I'm sitting at the stairs outside the scoring trailer with the clubs and everything. And he says, "So, Stevie, tell me about what happened there on Friday on the 18th tee." So I told him, and he had a great laugh. And then the next thing that he said to me, he said, "Steve, I'm going to play even better than I did this week at the Open Championship. You get your ass over there. I want you to know every blade of grass in that course before I get there." That's the kind of pressure it was working for Tiger. I had a bunch of mates with me from New Zealand that were at that US Open at Pebble Beach. And, I couldn't celebrate because now I just couldn't celebrate in the way that you should celebrate, because now that, he's told me, he's put me under pressure, if you know what I mean. Like he told me he was going to play even better, and I want you to know every blade of grass. Well, what did he do? He went over to St. Andrews, never hit it in a bunker. And in the entire 13 years I came from, that was the best tournament he played. So he was right.
Okay. So St. Andrews was better than Pebble, even though he won by 15.
100%. That was the best 72-hole performance in the entire time that I cared for Tiger, was the Open Championship at St. Andrews.
I believe that's where he had the blind shot, and you told him to hit it like a TV tower, and he hit it, and he goes, "That one right there, Stevie?"
Yes, the steeple behind the green. One of the steep, you're looking on the 14th hole behind the green. There's a big steeple, church steeple that stands out in that. But so that it's amazing. He won that one by 15, the Open, US Open at Pebble, and then went on, and told me he's going to play better. And like I said, for a 72-hole performance, he did, because he had, he made that triple bogey on the third hole at Pebble on the Saturday, and he had another couple of holes where he scratched out some really, testing pars, if you like. But at St. Andrews, he never put himself under pressure or any, stress for 72 holes. It was a remarkable 72 holes of golf.
Yeah, go over there, learn every inch, and then you didn't even hit it. He didn't hit it anywhere where he could have get in trouble. Just phenomenal. Well, I feel like we could talk for like 4 hours on all this. But
I would love to at some point.
We got to get to the E9 here, Stevie, and have a little fun with you here. I'm going to start out with another one about Tiger here. I need to know the biggest argument you ever got into Tiger with on the golf course.
It was at the Masters Masters. I can't exactly remember what year it was, but I'd been out in the course early in the morning and knew where the tee placement was on the third hole. They'd moved the tee right up to the very front, which I'd never seen before. Sometimes I've seen them move it up 10 to 12. They put it right on the front of the tee, easy to knock it on the green there. He made a 4-4 start. It was automatic in my mind that he needed to hit driver there. I couldn't talk him into it, and I did. He hit the worst shot he's ever hit over to the trees in the right, took bogey, which basically took him out of the tournament, because probably the scoring average might have been 3.5 or 6 on that hole on that day. And he didn't say a word to me for the next 5 holes, and going up the 9th hole, I dressed him down and gave him a speech that he'd never heard before. And that was the first and only major argument that we ever had.
Wow. All right.
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, because he's been known to lay. I mean, he always lays up there on the third, or at least back in the day he did.
Yeah, well, in my mind, you just had to have a go, because it was, off the front of the tee there, it was feasible, with a lot of luck, that you could leave the ball on the putting surface, but it was very easy to hit the ball, up onto the putting surface and over behind the green there, where it's a pretty simple up and down. So